Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Educator Wellness Revolution podcast. I am Scott Goldstein,
I'm Caroline Pryor.
and we are very excited to be coming back to you today with a new episode with Council Member Janeese Lewis George of Ward 4, the best ward in DC. Sorry, Caroline. We love Ward 1 too. That's my home. Council Member Janeese Lewis George, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. So excited to be on.
Awesome. Well, this is an education podcast, so we got to start with a little bit about your own education story and just tell us a little bit about your journey through schools and education and just how your own education has influenced your journey as a leader in our city.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a proud DC public school graduate all the way through. I attended Rudolph Elementary. My time at Rudolph was so informative. I had some of the most amazing teachers, particularly who really saw me as a student. I think back to my third grade teacher, Miss McCoy, who would let me just go down the hall and get water for her every day. It's something that seems so small. But when I was younger, I felt like it felt like the most important task in the world. And really, what she was doing is whenever she noticed I was getting sort of frustrated with the work, she was giving me a break. So to me, I thought it was something special, but to her, it was just her being a skilled teacher who sees her students and knows how to sort of help them be their best selves. Um, I also remember my time at Rudolph vividly. We did have a lot of facilities issues. I remember times where either the air conditioning didn't work or the heating didn't work. I remember times where we didn't have enough books for our classrooms, or there were books with pages missing, and we had to share a lot of our resources at Rudolph. And I remember our after school programs, DC Scores. I'm an original DC Scores kid. The year they were founded, apparently, which makes me however old that is. Um, I remember that program vividly being such a amazing part of my journey as an elementary school student, learning about poetry, writing my own poetry, and learning soccer and playing on the field with my fellow classmates. We all grew up in a time where our schools had closed. Keene Elementary had closed, and so Deal and so Rudolph and Keene students came together, which was a huge deal at the time. And it was really DC Scores that like brought us together, and we became teammates instead of it like us versus each other. It was like us versus everyone else. So after school programs became a huge deal for me, and I loved it. I then went on to Deal Middle School for my seventh through ninth grade years because it was junior high school at the time. Love my time at Deal. Just the amazing diversity of students there. We got to learn from each other's cultures. It was such a beautiful diversity. And I just think about it like we were at each other's bar mitzvahs, we were at each other's cotillions, each other's quinceañeras. Like we really celebrated and loved on each other, and we celebrated each other's culture. And it was such a beautiful thing. I remember about Deal that we were very well resourced. So I remember one time the air conditioners didn't work, and the PTO was like, "Boom, next week air conditioners for all the classrooms until they can fix this issue," right? And so just
That's
realize
novel.
yeah, exactly. Just realizing that difference, where we had a PTO that could, raise a ton of money, who could address some of the facilities issues that maybe we couldn't do at Deal. At Rudolph, we could do at Deal. So really just seeing that difference in sort of zip code being really connected to your classroom, and to your access to opportunity. But absolutely love my time there. Mr. Moss was the principal, and he was like the most amazing principal, but also really stern, like out of a movie kind of stern. So everybody was scared of him. It was wonderful. It was a great time. And I gained most of my best friends in this world at Deal. Really grateful for them. And then I am a School Without Walls Penguin. Finally, go Penguins. Um, I went to the school at the time where it was really, really small. It's much different now. I mean, we literally it was like 10 to 12 students to a classroom. My
Mm,
graduating class was like 76 kids. I'm not kidding you. And
wow.
only 13 were guys. So we were like a really small, close-knit community at School Without Walls. I remember then just the ways in which like learning outside of your classroom was so critical because at
Mm,
School Without Walls, we use the city as our classroom. So history class could be at the Natural History Museum. It could be at the Civil Rights War Memorial on 13th Street. Whatever we were learning, we sort of, were using our community. We could be in environmental science and go to botanical gardens or the Arboretum. Science class would be at the it could be at the Natural History Museum, or it could literally be at the Space Museum, right? It was our outdoor, we believed in outdoor learning, and we knew how important it was into doing that. That's what it meant to be school without walls. People were like, you guys have no walls. It was like, no, it just means we have no walls to learning, meaning
Yeah, yeah.
learning doesn't happen just in the walls of a classroom, but it happens all around us and throughout the city. And so School Without Walls really taught me that and the importance of that, and also taught me really great sort of writing and reading skills that really kept with me my whole entire, educational career through law school. I mean, School Without Walls really taught me how to be a good writer. And that's a skill that I think is so important and critical that people don't realize. It's really hard to do when you don't practice it. And so really understanding why, writing skills are just as important and learning outside the classroom. So, um, to say I just had the best, all across the board, I had some of the best DC public school teachers, school counselors. My school counselors were integral. It's why I care so much about school counselors, because as a first generation college student, my school counselors really helped me navigate what it meant to get summer jobs and have summer programs and apply for scholarships and et cetera. I had the best school librarians who taught me how to do that research, how to create that writing and skills. And so, just as amazing as my DCPS teachers were, so were the DCPS support staff that really supported us as well. So that's why I approach my work in a way where I care so deeply about our school facilities, because I know what it's like to be in a school who don't get that attention, but I also care about innovative, bold learning ideas like outdoor learning, because that's when I learned my best. And it's why I care so much about supporting our educators, because I know that the educators investing in young people, seeing something special in you and developing that is the greatest gift in the world. And I'm so grateful to have been given that gift by so many teachers throughout my career in DC public schools.
That's the greatest hits right there. Experiential learning and outdoor learning and using the city as a classroom, so many of the things we care about. But I want to go back for a second to that story about the water because I think, for you, it was that little break. Actually, I just read a study this morning about how important micro breaks are for students. Just
Mhm.
like the ability to take that like 1 minute, 2 minutes to reset, stepping out into the hallway or just having a brain break. I used to do these like brain gym
Yeah.
activities with my kids before we took a test or something like that. But you might not have realized at the time, maybe you did, and we're conscious of it, like how important that was for your teacher because like hard it is for a teacher to get water or go to the bathroom, take care of their basic necessities during the day. So that was serving both of you.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
even remember the cup. That's how vivid a memory it is. It's like one of those like cups they used to give you, like a little Pepsi cups that they used to give you at like the drive-throughs, the big plastic ones. I remember it vividly because it was something so special to me and made such a difference in my
Yeah.
life. But yeah. And we were probably helping each other. Look at
Yeah.
that.
It's really, I mean, it's just really special to have that memory and hold on to that and just like that one, yeah, the water cup.
Yeah.
Uh, but in addition to being the Ward 4 council member, you also chair, as you have mentioned, the DC Council Committee on Facilities, which oversees DCPS's school facilities. So would love to hear you chat a little more about why educational facilities matter to you and what message do they send to our students and families and educators.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I can vividly remember as a child, like, when at Rudolph we would may have to wear our coat in the classroom, or just that need. And then as I became chair of facilities in the council, going to different schools, I remember one year at a particular school. The teachers were just getting their classrooms ready for the first day of school, and it was like 98 degrees in their classrooms as they were trying to get their classrooms ready for the first day of school. And in fact, the HVAC didn't even come on until like 11 p.m. the night before school started, and yet they had been in there for like 3 weeks, just getting their classrooms ready, going through training, and just like in the sweltering heat. And honestly, facilities are really the linchpin to other educational issues, right? Academic achievements improves when classrooms are not freezing cold or boiling hot from broken HVAC systems. Students achieve more, but teachers are able to teach in those environments. Students go to school more when their schools are free from pests, right? Pest control has been an issue that we talked about. Educators are more happier, more effective, and they stay in the classroom. We retention is something we talk about. They stay at their school if they can focus on teaching rather than maintenance issues, right? And so it's just so important that the environment that our students learn in and that our educators teach in are ones that are conducive for the learning and the relationship building that takes place there. And there's so many things to cover, as you all know, that being focusing on maintenance issues is just really a deterrent for all of the other goals we have. And so that's why I've been particularly on it as facilities chair, wanting to do that work because, it really is one of those issues that is solvable, right? Like it is a really simple, solvable issue. We have the resources to do it as a city. And it's why I've been working so hard in fixing the systems, making our work order prioritizations actually reflect what the urgency they need to reflect, having our work orders closed out more quickly and more efficiently, and finding a way for our schools to be able to communicate when those work orders are not complete. And so it's all of that work. It's what facilities is one of the most fixable issues that can be done. And so that's why I've done it because it's just it really is the linchpin to sort of all the other educational issues, not having conducive classrooms of learning and teaching.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things that we notice when the facilities are bad. We don't necessarily notice when the facilities are working as they should be. And yet, like, it really does make such a difference,
Yeah.
just in terms of like the environment that our students have been in. Okay. I'm gonna throw it actually to Scott.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so just to add a wrinkle to like the thinking about school facilities a little bit. So my first year teaching at Roosevelt, we were in McFarland as Roosevelt was getting renovated. So we were in the middle of the renovation process. I was teaching in the McFarland building as it was Roosevelt, but I taught five different preps, meaning five different courses in five different rooms all over the place. The elevator was broken. We taught in rooms that had rats running through them. We were regularly sharing classrooms with other teachers. And the facility was a real problem, and it sent a terrible message, I think, to the students about how we valued them. At the same time, I have to say, like, our staff was super close, right? Like, we were super tight-knit going through all of that together. And in some ways, we moved into that new building, which has had some issues going forward once we got into the new Roosevelt building. But in some ways, we felt like very separate in that new building. Like, it was beautiful, and we had these amazing classrooms, but we didn't necessarily have that tight-knit environment. But I know as school facilities have developed, they've built into design a little bit, like ways to like keep people together more. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, like, what are some of the most impressive things you've seen in school design in ways that's like support the well-being of students and staff, that they actually design the building to like build community?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's been amazing to see when I look at John Lewis Elementary, for example. If you go into John Lewis, they sort of have these classrooms now. It's almost like clear garage doors that they can just lift up, and learning gets to take place throughout, and everyone gets to sort of see each other in the hallway. They have little learning zones, right,
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
students can come together and teachers can teach in the hallway. Multi classrooms can come together for a lesson and learn together. When I went to Dorothy Heights, one of our new modernized schools, they have an amazing outdoor space. They actually have outdoor learning classrooms upstairs on a patio, which is so nice. And they have a whiteboard and a board and a smart board for the educators to use. And students can go outside and actually learn in those spaces as well, right? They've created outdoor learning spaces. Another thing that I appreciate is when you go to a school like Dorothy Heights is they made the playgrounds with students with disabilities in mind.
Mm.
Another area that gets completely overlooked, right? That we can build facilities and playgrounds that is accessible for all students, and uses sort of different colors and different programs within the playground to basically encourage learners of different backgrounds and different styles to engage and have fun in those play areas. just seeing the classrooms that are built with just we have the amazing Fresh Farm Prince program that's in the schools,
Mhm.
like an actual kitchen in a school that teaches young people how to cook, and then have gardens in the school at the schools where students can food grow their own food, and then learn how to cook the food, right? Life skills, right? Learning how to plant and grow, learning how to cook those healthy foods for students to be able to take in. They're learning what is healthy for my body, what isn't healthy for my body, right? Just having those things at schools. Really just seeing the ways in which we have been able to make schools, classrooms more open and brighter, and let more air in and let more light in, and to have co-working spaces for our teachers,
Yeah. Yeah.
co-working spaces for students in the hallways. If you go through Coolidge, students have so many different little hallway pits where they can just go and do homework together and learn together, right? And encourage that type of relationship building. I've just been blown away with the ways in which we've now looked at design from an aspect of both addressing students' needs, teachers' needs, creating relationships,
Yeah.
understanding that learning takes place in all parts of the building, and cultivating that learning is an intentional thing that happens with how we build facilities and how we create them.
Yeah, I don't know if you probably have been in the Garfield school, but we've been working with Garfield Elementary, and it is just like every time we step into that building, we're just like, it feels like you're in an ocean. Something,
Yes,
it's like this amazing colors, and they have all those pods for
yes.
students to be together in the hallways. It just really creates that culture.
At those sensory, you're not thinking about students' sensory, right? In
Yeah.
the color of classrooms and in the ways in which things are situated. And so all of that is really beautiful and intentional work.
Yeah, it does feel very intentional. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about Garfield and I was thinking about like the murals and the artwork that is present in that building is just really incredible, and thinking about ways that we're fostering relationships for students, not only with the people in the building, but also with just the community, and
Yeah.
being able to connect to like artists in the community. Oh, they have this mural on our school wall. Um, but I also really appreciate the piece that you were talking about, because oftentimes, and I was talking to another teacher about this last week, feeling like students are kind of locked at their desk. Um,
Hmm.
and that's hard for learning. And one
Yes.
of the things that we've discovered in talking to educators is that they often also feel locked at their desks, where they don't have a lot of relationship building and sort of like collective teacher spaces for that co-working. And so I think it's like really beautiful to see how that is being woven into a lot of these facilities updates. Okay, gonna circle back to the work order requests that you referenced a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And also, as you mentioned, like every year, we know you go around to inspect school readiness, but you've also taken some very concrete actions just to make it easier for educators and school staff to track that building maintenance. So could you tell us a little bit more about that effort and where it stands now?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I said facilities is one of those things where we can do better and government can work better. And so I've been just overjoyed doing that work over the last couple years. A few years ago, we learned from our tours. It's like I want to go to schools in all eight wards of this city, and I want to talk to the custodians and the foremen, right? Because those are the people who make the school function every day, who work hard, who get there at 5 a.m. and don't leave until the last teacher leaves or till the light goes off, right? And they've been working in these schools for years. Can they let me know sort of why the system isn't working? And one of the things we found out when we went was that the custodians and foremen just were not getting email notifications when work orders were marked as complete, because the email list just hadn't been updated for years, right? And now they're getting those email, which is important because schools actually had 14 days to confirm if a work order was done correctly at all before it was closed out, and they weren't getting those notifications. So people were saying, oh, well, the work was complete because the school never said anything. Well, lo and behold, the school never knew that they had the ability to put in input to really make sure that quality assurance was there. And it really wasn't updating emails from the 90s and bringing them into the 2000s where we are, that we were able to do that. Another thing we did was the DGS Process Improvements Act and fiscal year 2024 budget, which was a basically allowed us a publication of analytics on maintenance work orders, including basically average days to complete, certain types of work orders. And it provides parents and educators sort of more information. We also did a school readiness checklist, right? What does it mean for a school to actually be ready? And we decided, like, based on our, first 2 years of doing these, this is what it actually looks like for a school to be ready. And we created a list of things, right, that took into account, is the elevator working, right? Has the school been serviced for rodents? Is, in addition to the HVAC working, are the lights working? Simple things like, can the front door lock? Do the exterior doors lock and open as needed? Do the staff have the keys to do so, right? So all of these things that people sort of take for granted, we created a checklist to say this is actually what we mean when we say a school needs to be ready. And then we had them, do annual maintenance plans that really covers like sort of reactive, routine, and preventative maintenance. And we made some of the work orders that used to be routine, like locks and doors, make them emergency work orders because they are, right? For safety reasons, those should be emergency work orders. So those get completed now within a week instead of within, a 3-month period. Like they used to get done, right? So we looked at sort of some of the problem type plumbing, when bathrooms are down in multiple different parts of the school, how that impacts when teachers don't have access to a bathroom because their bathroom's been out for a year, right? That's what we mean by, making those improvements. And I think the work we did was allow more increased transparency, which allows staff, parents, and students to stay informed, and it helped keep DCPS and DGS accountable when maintenance issues would arise. And so those things are just so critical and critical ways in which we're able to make a difference. If they're contractors working on a school, who's responsible for what and who's getting it done, and how do we simplify that system to make sure everybody's not sort of saying, oh, that's somebody else's job, not my job, right? Making clear the roles and designations of everybody who has a role in maintenance and they get it done without, kicking the ball to someone else. So it has been really meticulous on the groundwork, but I promise you that we've seen a huge difference in percentages of work orders closed out, work orders are complete, a focus on some of the work orders that didn't used to receive a focus. And that's made all the difference in our students, in our educators' lives. And still we have much more work to do, but really excited with the progress we've made.
Yeah. Yeah. And very excited about that progress. And as you mentioned, these are like small details, but it makes such a tangible difference in just day to day for students and families and for our educators. So we're gonna switch tactics a little bit. We're gonna be still talking a little bit about accountability. But this has been just an incredibly tough year for our schools. And you may know that EmpowerEd has stood up and facilitated the Defend DC Public Education Network, which is over 700 neighbors that are coming together to support and defend our DC's public schools.
Yeah.
Also includes 250 school captains, which is really exciting work. And they're doing some tailored organizing that meets the needs of their school communities. So we've stepped up in a lot of ways. Our community has stepped up in a lot of ways, but we also know that our students and educators are seeing really traumatizing things on their way to school, in school, looking out the window from their classroom and seeing just like the terror of ICE actions right outside the school. Many of our students and families are afraid to send their kids to school at all. And we also know that our principals have been cautioned against spreading Know Your Rights information and feel like they can't really step up in the ways that their school communities need them to. And then, of course, in the background, we also have the local police who are continuing to collaborate with the threats that we are seeing. So big question, heavy question, but what should the city be doing differently to support schools amidst all of this right now?
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm really just so grateful for the Defend DC Public Education Network for stepping in the steed here. And it has been powerful to see the way in which community has really shown up, walking walking students to buses, school captains, neighbors protecting each other. And it's really been unfortunate to see government not match that care. Kids seeing ICE outside a classroom is unacceptable. Families afraid to send their children to school is unacceptable. Um, and principals being cautioned against really know your rights communication is just absolutely wrong. Um, because these are the leaders who really care deeply about their communities. And just seeing firsthand students going to and from and parents being ripped apart and students being traumatized by seeing these things happen in real time has been just absolutely devastating as a leader. I think what we need to be doing right now is one, equipping our school system should be at the forefront of educating not only our educators and our principals, but educating our school community on knowing their rights and making clear what their rights are and making clear that those rights will be defended. Um, MPD should not be collaborating with ICE in any way. MPD collaboration with ICE is fueling fear. It's also contradicting DC laws, right? District sanctuary laws that we put in place. So we should be ceasing collaboration with ICE by MPD and any other local government forces that are in collaboration with ICE. I think that the city right now has to stop making things worse. In MPD cooperation with ICE, enforce judicial warrant requirements. We've seen again warrants executed in the morning while students are going to school at night. These are calls that I've made personally to say this is continually traumatizing our young people, and we need to do something about it. Schools must be treated as true safe zones. Our school leadership, our government has to be unequivocal in that protection. No ICE actions on or near school grounds has to be the mandate and has to be made clear. We have to strengthen our safe passage efforts around schools right now. We have to open the opportunity and the door for virtual learning for those families who are most vulnerable and need some real reassurances in this sort of place we're in our country and in our city. And those are the things we should be doing right now. Standing unequivocally a sanctuary city like we have been, and defending our students, defending our parents, defending our educators, standing in the stead with our principals and being that source of education and protection. And it's been awful to see us not doing that. And I want to be clear, the impact that this has on the future generations of students and how they see law enforcement is absolutely devastating. And I don't think people are taking that into account as well, is that this is the generation who will either see our law enforcement as a partner, as a protection, or will fear them. And that fear can have long-term issues with how we create public safety and our public safety ecosystem. Additionally to that, I really think we also need to be thinking about our children's mental health in this moment and providing more resources as students are seeing things around them and feeling anxiety and fear and uncertainty about their future. This moment calls for more mental health awareness and wellness being provided for our students and our families right now in this really difficult time. And we also need to be meeting that need at this moment as well.
Thank you for that. And for thinking about the holistic needs of children and their families and what the long-term consequences of, this moment are for them. And I think we know too that one of the most important things that, children have with their connection to school is just adult mentors, right? Someone who cares about them at school. And that's why we care so much about educator retention, right? And educator well-being, because a lot of it's really an equity issue that people don't see this way too often, which is that I grew up in a suburban school district where I could expect someone who taught me in kindergarten was probably going to be there when I graduated 12th
Right.
grade and I could maintain that relationship. And the truth is a lot of students in DC who don't have the stability they deserve outside of school are not even getting that stability inside of school where we owe it to them, right? And so we have seen some improvements in educator retention in our city in recent years. I think in large part due to some of the ideas that educators have pushed with the mayor and the council in previous years, from grow your own pathways, prepare professionals to salary transparency, educator wellness, flexible scheduling. But I want to just ask you as we wrap up here, just how you think government can do a better job of listening to teachers and to school staff and how that would improve education.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a real focus on educator well-being has to happen. Many people don't know I worked as a city year corps member after college. Actually went to LA and worked at a Hollenbeck Middle School in East Los Angeles, Boyle Heights. And I saw firsthand in that experience that, when educators are exhausted and are underpaid, are not given flexibility, students feel it first, right? Educator well-being is student well-being. And I've said before that, we can't talk about retention or teacher quality while ignoring pay, planning time, class size, and respect, flexibility with schedules and wellness and that sort of work. We have to listen to educators when they tell us sort of these are the things that would make me a more effective a teacher. These are the planning period. This is a planning period time that I would need to be able to come up with innovative plans to make sure that our students are learning as much as they can. I think some other things that we can do really to support, our educators really is, a lot of the work that's already been done, right? Grow your own, our wellness grants, our pathways for paraprofessionals, and salary transparency. Those are things that we know can help and support teacher retention. When educators feel heard and respected, they stay. And when educators stay, students get stable relationships and they get stronger school culture, right? And so listening to educators is really the simplest way the council can improve both teaching conditions and learning conditions in DC schools, but the executive as well. We have to make concrete improvements in working conditions. And planning time, class size, mental health supports as well. Our educators are experiencing everything our students are experiencing. They experience the pandemic, they're experiencing this federal law enforcement surge and ICE and everything else. They're trying to protect their students. They're dealing with the students who have lost a loved one and parents. And so until we recognize and listen to how we make those things happen, and not sort of just create, and not like sort of in what I hate is when we'll say, "Oh, do you have teacher wellness?" And they'll say, "Oh, well, we do this thing where teachers can do one thing a year that's fun or something." Like, no, like how do we embed teacher wellness in our system,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That makes it sustainable, not little one-off things. Like they don't, they
Not
say
just self-care. Yeah.
like teachers don't want a pizza party. Like they don't, what I mean? That's not self-care. That's not real, right? That's not, they don't want sort of these one-off things that are not a sustainable part of the system, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
creating that sustainability in the system that creates positive working conditions and takes into account teachers' wellness is how we do that. And I know continuing to have, our wellness grants, our Grow Your Own, our pathways programs, and ensuring that support is how we do that. And how we make our system sustainable and retain our teachers and make them really excited about how and the ways in which they grow our teachers, our students as well.
Well, we appreciate that because we're always on a mission to try to have people understand educator wellness, not just as surface levels, not just the pizza party or the yoga,
Right.
self-care. It is peer relationships and mentorship and interpersonal support and organizational policies that make people well. Well, thank you for your time. We're going to close with a couple quick lightning questions
All
here,
right. All right.
a couple fun ones. So, we're going to put you on the spot with a couple things. First, I'm going to ask you to name one of your council colleagues
Uh-huh.
who you think, and it can't be Zachary Parker because he's been a teacher, who you think would hold up best as a teacher in a DC classroom, and tell us why.
I'm gonna say Brianna Doe because her daughters are Girl Scouts and she always is on the Girl Scout trips. And she, I think, served as a camp counselor. So if you can wrangle some Girl Scouts, you can probably survive a day as an educator. So I would go with Brianne.
Wonderful. Okay. Next, gonna ask you to put yourself in a let's do third grade, Janeese Lewis George. What would be
Okay.
your perfect school day for us with 7 hours to play with? Is it 2 hours of recess? What would it have been?
Okay. Well, it would be like an hour of PE. I like PE. I love physical education time. I thought it was always fun to learn. I love social studies, so obviously give me a full hour social studies, history. Um, an hour for lunch. Yes. Uh, an hour for lunch and then like a 30 minutes for recess. So a total of like lunch and recess are separate. You don't get to mix these two, right?
Yes, yes.
Lunchtime
Thank
is
you. Thank you.
lunchtime, recess time is recess time.
We need a law. Yeah.
Not commingling the two, right? I want my full 30-minute lunch and my full hour of recess. I love music, even though like I'm not the best singer. I still not the best singer, was terrible on the flute and the clarinet. I tell DC Youth Orchestra all the time. I tried, it just didn't work, but I love learning about it and I love learning music. So I would give like some hours of music and then just like a total like 2 hours to like go to any museum in the city,
Oh, yeah, there we go. I like
learn.
that. Yeah.
Right, like every day would be like, okay, now go do something that you go learn in
Go
another
learn.
go learn, find a
I
Oh,
love
space,
it.
place you want to learn. Kids could go to the go-go museum, or they could go to, anywhere, the World War II memorial, but like allow us the opportunity to go learn, and find the spaces to learn. I would totally do that. That would be a part of it.
Sounds like a great day for every
Awesome.
learner. Our final question. If you had a
Yeah.
magic wand, you could change one thing about DC education for all students right now. What would you use your magic wand to do?
Oh my God.
You've
One,
named so much already.
how much of a wand can it be, like a
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
wand?
We know it's going to be a big brush.
Oh my goodness.
But
Obviously,
you
modernize safe and healthy facilities for every school. Community schools model being expanded. Smaller class sizes. Teacher stability at school.
it's a
Ending the
big wand.
over ending over reliance on testing.
There we go.
Um,
There we go. Keep painting.
and universal out of time school programs, after school programs across all awards.
That's the vision. You heard it. Councilmember Janeese Lewis George, there's so much in there. We
I
appreciate
know.
all of your
I'm like,
support.
and can the wand just keep going?
Keep
No, go
going.
ahead.
The genie has many wishes and asks for more wishes.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilmember Janeese Lewis George. We appreciate all your support for educators over the years and continuing to fight on behalf of students in our schools and all the work you're doing on the council. And thanks for being on the Educator Wellness Revolution podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.